Hey there, this is Real Talk Baseball. I'm Carlos Baseball. With me as always is Will Power. We haven't been on in a long ass time. How's it going, Will? You letting that beard grow? I see.
Yeah, man. Halloween's coming up, and I don't know if you've seen my previous Halloween pictures, but I like to go all out. And this year we decided to my son and I, my 6-year-old, we're going to be Kratos and Atreus from the God of War video game,
Uh-huh.
the one that was released a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I already got all of our costumes together. I'm currently making mine. I actually bought an axe from Spirit Halloween, but I have like an X-Acto blade and some sandpaper and some paint. So I'm gonna cut it up the way that it looks on the video game and paint like the like luminescent blue around the sides of it. It's gonna look dope, dude.
Okay, cool, man. It kind of looked like you were just missing in action with that beard, though. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't been on in a while, so there's a lot of things we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about strategies in fantasy baseball. Um, I know we haven't been on, and so a lot of people have been messaging you on Instagram. I see, and still asking for strategies and who should you drop, who should you pick up. A lot of teams going into the playoffs this week already, or championships. Um, what's a good strategy? Let's just get into it, man. What's a good strategy for people right now? I know the season's been long, and our season ended a little earlier than normal. We were just talking about it before we got on live, but you do have a point. I understand how it works where we have the season, the baseball season going, and then we start getting into the football season. But this football season's only, I feel like we only get on and it's just like a one time thing, like you don't really have to look at your lineup more than once unless they get injured in practice or something like that. Then you change your lineup up. But yeah, man, let's get into the strategy. Like, what's a good strategy right now that you're heading into playoffs or you're barely squeezing in? I know there's a lot of players out there still, especially if you're playing in a 10 team league. I believe there's more players than the 12 and 14. There's been a lot of leagues that have been going up to all the way to 16, and that's where you have a problem finding players, right?
Yeah, that's the issue that we're having in our 17 team league that Tony's running this year. Last year it was a categories league, and us three we kind of like ran it all together. But I made the most moves. I'm usually like the categories like specialist of the group that we have, and Tony, I told Tony, like, you can go ahead and take control of this team, and I'll be here. Like, if you need any advice on ad drops or whatever you want to do. And he's doing really good, man. He was in the beginning of the season. We started off slow, as a lot of fantasy teams did this year, because this year was a little bit weird. The ball changed, and um, you know pitchers did pitchers weren't doing as well as we thought they were going to. Partly because of like the sticky substance ban. Things were different this year, but I think after we kind of got a hang of it, you adapt, you learn and adapt. Changed up our lineup around. Tony made a lot of good trades. That definitely helped us in the long run, and I think we ended the season with like a 8-game winning streak. We
Wow.
won the last 8 weeks in a row, and it looks like we're going to win the first round of the playoffs this week as well. Um, it's a points league, and in points league, the first thing I want to say is anyone that makes it to the playoffs, congratulations to you. That's an accomplishment in itself. I just in the playoffs, some people do things that they're not really used to. Try to change up their strategies and stuff like that. And honestly, whatever strategy you've been working with the whole season, it worked and it got you into the playoffs. So just continue with that strategy. I think when you start to steer away from the way that you've been running your team for the past 16 weeks or 16 weeks, the past 6 months or so, it's it's not a smart move to kind of like change the way you run your team. There are certain circumstances like pitchers get hurt, players get hurt, and you do have to kind of adapt to that and pick up different players that you're not usually used to. Um, but if you're in a points league, it's always safe to play the matchups. Um,
Pick up.
there's definitely a lot of weaker teams out there, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, like the Miami Marlins. Other teams that we thought we were going to be doing terrible, like the Orioles, are kind of like on a pretty good streak right now. It looks like they're actually going to make it into the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Are
Real
they
baseball
really?
playoffs. Yeah.
No way. Let me look at the look.
It's
To be
possible.
honest, I haven't even looked at the standings that much because of the Dodgers already clinched, and I'm a Dodger fan, so it's it's kind of
I can't
difficult.
tell
But
with
I
that A on your hat.
exactly. But I've been giving up with the Braves and the Mets. I know the Mets are only a half game up on the Braves. I believe. I
Yeah.
don't know if they won or lost
They
yesterday,
cooled
but
off a lot. They cooled off a lot in the last
it's
like
not
couple
that they
months.
cooled off. The thing is, the Braves have been playing good baseball, better than the Mets. The Mets haven't been playing horrible baseball. It's just that the Braves have been playing, you know, better baseball than the Mets, and that's
Well,
how they
in
got
addition
caught
to
up.
that, the Mets were scoring a lot more runs in the beginning of the season compared to now. Now they're like, 3 or 4 runs a game, kind of on average. And earlier in the season, they were more like 6 or 7 runs per game, which
Yeah.
that's a huge difference. It's a difference maker when you can score that many runs um, against good teams. The Yankees were kind of like the favorites to win the American League East, and I believe they're still in first place, but they've been on a real bad cold streak for the past 2 months or so. Like right after the All-Star break, the only one really doing anything is Aaron Judge. Everyone else on the team, DJ LeMahieu got hurt, and Benintendi got hurt. The guy that they traded for that was supposed to be like a solid middle of the lineup type of guy, and they haven't been performing as well as they were in the first half. So the American League East, there's like 4 teams that are really in the talks of actually all of them are in the talks of making the playoffs. The whole division. It's pretty close. And
No,
then
but
you also have
The Red Sox are the only team that they're off.
yeah,
I
I
think they're
mean,
done. And Baltimore, they're 4.5 back from the wild card spot. So the last card spot.
and with like
Um,
what is it, like 18 games left? There's still a chance. So
there's still a lot of baseball going on. It's still
yeah,
a lot of
all
baseball.
3 of
Yeah.
those teams, it's or 4 of those teams, I'm sorry. Um, you know, the top seed loses a couple games, and then the 4th seed starts winning some. It changes hands pretty quick when the division is so tight like that.
And then the Yankees, the last 10, they won eight, and they're 8-2. So that's not that bad. They're kind of, I
That's
guess,
not bad
coming
at
back.
all.
They're coming back into it. But since they traded Gallo, I know for sure they went down and they were on that losing streak and they weren't playing good baseball. I think for the month of August, they didn't do all that well. And they were leading in the record, right? In the record books, being the top front runner in MLB with the wins out there. I don't remember how many wins it was before. I guess it was after the All-Star break. And it just collapsed. They collapsed. So this month they've been doing pretty well. They're 8-2, which is pretty good. And you were saying Baltimore. There's a lot of players with Baltimore that you can go and pick up. There's a lot of no names there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been playing good baseball. I know even though the last 10 they're 4-6, but there's a lot of baseball players out there that they're still and waivers and you can pick up because they're still good playing good baseball. They're over
They're
500.
scoring a lot of runs. They're not the type of team to limit a lot of runs, especially their starting rotation is not the best. They have a couple of guys that are worth ads, but no one that I would really keep on my team for the whole season. I think his name is Dean Cramer.
Yeah,
He's been a good like spot starter for me throughout the season. I like to pick him up, play the matchups.
it's not bad. It's
Other
not
than
bad at
that,
all.
like they don't really have the best starting rotation or bullpen. So guys, the lineup has really been carrying the team for them.
Yeah.
So going along with that conversation, when we're talking about pitching streamers, when you're picking up streamers to face against the weaker teams, that there's teams in mind that you think may be still just bad. Like when the Orioles come to my mind, I just think, they're a terrible team because they have been for the past decade or so.
Yeah.
But now, the way that they're playing baseball now, scoring a lot of runs, they have really good hitters. They're not the best matchup to do that against anymore. So definitely, just do a Google search, go to MLB standings, and look at the teams that are on the bottom of each division. Those are the teams that you really want to stream pitchers against. If you're looking at Colorado, they're a great team to stream pitchers against, but don't pick up pitchers that are pitching in Colorado, because those are the starts that are really going to get hit around. I know German Marquez, he had a really bad start last week, but this week he's away from home, so it might be a decent type of streamer to look for. You know, categories leagues are a bit different. I'm in my keeper league. It's a categories league, and it's hard to pick up streamers because you want to win the ERA category, and one guy that gives up 6 runs in 4 innings that could really inflate your ERA for the entire week
Can blow it up for you.
and really blow it up for you, including the whip, and usually when guys get hit around that hard, they're not getting a lot of strikeouts. So that's 3 categories already that are hindering you picking up those type of streamers. So maybe sacrifice the pitching strikeouts and just focus on your lineup that you've been working with the whole season, and go for ERA, go for whip. If you do see a good pitcher that has a good matchup, there's a couple that I picked up. I picked up Taiwan Walker. I think he pitched either yesterday or today. I think it was today. And I didn't get to see the end result, but I did see that the first 5 innings, he actually didn't allow any runs, but there was a run scored on like an error or something. So he actually was a pretty decent streamer for me.
It must have been yesterday. Taiwan Walker. Let me look him up right quick. Damn it. He not being ready for this. Taiwan Walker.
So he actually pitched. He's pitching right now.
Oh, he's pitching now?
Yeah. So it's against Pittsburgh, and it's at home in New York. So that's a really good streamer that I think would have been a good choice for today. Pitching against a weak team, and with the offense that is behind him, they're definitely going to score some runs against weak pitching that Pittsburgh has as well.
But I got a question though. Like I know there's a lot of players that a lot of people's been holding on to, and right now I think is the time to start. We've been saying it from the get-go. Start dropping them and start picking up other players, because there's a lot of people that are holding on and holding on to the last minute. Oh, they're gonna come through. They're gonna start hitting. No, drop them. Go stream someone that's gonna get you a few points. Like one that comes to mind, and I know it was one of the players that Tony has, was Bellinger. And he would have been dropped a long time ago if we would have kept going. And those are type of players that you wish they were doing good, but at the same time they're not. So just drop them and pick someone up, stream them. I know it's just one player, but that one player getting you 6 points a week or 10 points a week, you can drop that player and get someone that's getting 23, 24, 25 points. That's going to make a lot of difference.
In addition to Cody Bellinger, there's another player that went way earlier in the drafts than he did, and that's Juan Soto. So I haven't really paid attention to Juan Soto in the last week or so, but he's been terrible this season. He's had some hot spots kind of here and there, but his average is in the 240s. He only has I think
he like 3-4 home runs, not since he joined the Padres too.
I think he has less than 20 for the season. And he's not a runner, so he doesn't steal bases. This season, if you're in a redraft league, if you're in the playoffs right now and you have Juan Soto on your team, I don't see any problem with dropping him, especially when there's only 2 weeks left. If you get past this week, pick up a hot batter that you can stream instead of holding on to a guy that isn't probably going to hit a hot streak within the next 2 weeks. That's not enough. It's not enough time, and you're running out of time, basically. If there's someone else out there that you're thinking about, oh, I really want this guy because he scored 8 runs with 3 home runs last week, and it's possible he could do it again because the hot streak continues. Go ahead and drop an ad. Right now is not the time to hesitate.
Yeah, so he does have 20 home runs. He has 24 home runs this season, but it doesn't even sound like he's doing anything right now because um I just looked him up right quick. I just wanted to make sure because I know I haven't heard a lot about Juan Soto, and you're right. Why keep him if you can have another guy that's going to perform way better than what Juan Soto has been doing? Another guy that's been struggling since he joined the Padres is Drury, man. Um,
Yeah.
like
And that's
what's going.
exactly what I was talking about. The last time we had a show, we talked about Brandon Drury and the
Mhm,
trade. And
we
I
did.
I I even said it reminds me of the guy
They
that the
traded
Padres
last year,
got
right?
from Pittsburgh, Adam Frazier. He was doing amazing with Pittsburgh. He was
He
batting over
busts.
300, had a bunch of doubles, and then he gets traded to the Padres, and he was crap after that. Same thing with Brandon Drury. I remember Brandon Drury from the Diamondbacks years ago, and I remember there was one season where he was just super solid, and it was great for fantasy. But then the next year, he just kind of died off again. I think he got hurt, and it just wasn't worth the draft pick that he was drafted at. And now it's kind of the same thing. He moved to San Diego, and it's hard to develop the type of chemistry that you need to be the complete batter that maybe he was on a previous team. These guys are they're men, and men go through different emotions. They go through things in their head. Like we always talk about, baseball is a very superstitious game, and sometimes the chemistry just isn't there. I've said it before that I think they just need like at least one full off season of being on the same team, hanging out with each other, maybe going over each other's houses and just building that camaraderie. Because even Francisco Lindor that went to the Mets from the Indians on the Indians or the Guardians. The Guardians, he was great, and then he goes over to the Mets, and the first season we heard about the raccoon thing and the Jeff McNeil type of drama that he had, and it's hard to really find that chemistry so fast. Some guys it doesn't really matter um, because they're just so good that any team they go to, they just perform well. Like Arenado was one of them when he went over to the Cardinals from Colorado. He doesn't have that Colorado effect anymore, so he's not going to be hitting close to 40 home runs, but he's still a really solid player.
He
And
could be an MVP, man. I think he's second in MVP after Goldschmidt in St. Louis. But
Goldschmidt, man.
you know, but that's a baseball town. You can't compare a baseball town to a city that's never won a World Series. And I'm not trying to talk crap about the Padres. I mean, I'm glad that the Padres got the good team and everything like that. But Brandon Drury, you're talking about Soto, then you go ahead and get Josh Hader. If you have him on your bullpen, man, just drop that guy. That guy is not doing
Yeah.
anything for the Padres. So it'll be interesting to see if someone picks these guys up because you're you think about it, you're trying to win your league and you're thinking about, oh, you see Juan Soto, he's available to pick up. Like I will think about that because he hasn't been doing anything. He hasn't gotten a little hot streak at all either. So I
No,
think it's
the
a
only thing,
wasted pick if you only have limited picks. Like let's say if you have 5 picks, that's just a wasted pick in my
yeah.
eyes. Everybody can do whatever they want. It's just our opinion, but you got to think about those things. Like, and the Padres do have a tough schedule coming up. They have the toughest schedule in the West. So think about that stuff too. Like, it's not going to be an easy task for the Padres. And, if you see these players in that spot, because I don't know, man. And you just talked about it, the chemistry. I want to get into that a little bit. It's just I feel like Machado to me, he's an MVP caliber player. It's just when you have all these players and all these stars there, it doesn't seem like no one is being a leader.
Yeah.
So someone that picks up and say, "I'm gonna be the leader. I'm gonna carry this team. You guys follow me. Let's get on my back." And with the tease thing going on and all these distractions happening in San Diego, you think they're going to start firing people if they don't make it to the playoffs? Man, hell yeah, they are. Preller's going to get fired. Then you talk about Bob Mem just got signed last year to coach this team, this all-star team. He's not doing all that well. So
No,
it's
they're
just,
probably going to have a new manager by the time the next season starts.
if they don't make it to playoffs, but they make it to playoffs, I think they got the star power to do it, to have a good run. But it's crazy, man. We're talking about fantasy baseball, and these things pop up because you think about how bad the Padres are playing, and you can't even say like, oh, just because we're Dodger fans, we think that way. No, we're baseball fans looking into the Padres organization and seeing this as a fantasy baseball perspective, and we're seeing these players just go ahead and drop them. And we're telling you, drop these guys, even though they're good, they're stars and everything. There's players out there that are playing way better than the Soto, that are playing way better than Drury, play way better than Josh Hader. Like there's players out there that are actually closing games every night. So you can go ahead and get those points, so you can do that. And even in a keepers league and what is it, the other league categories, right? So if you have a saves, there's players out there that can save the game for you. Like you can get probably 3 saves a week, and that could probably determine the difference from you winning or losing your fantasy league or in the playoffs. Because playoffs I feel like playoffs are a little different. You got to kind of strategize a week before you start playoffs, because you need to see, okay, this guy has this amount of starts if you're playing a points league, right? And then you start looking at the other team, and you're like, man, this guy's gonna have 15 starts. I only have 13. I need to go get me another starter, or I need to go get me an outfielder because my outfielder's not doing so well. Let's say I have Max Muncy. Like, am I gonna drop this guy? You know what? Yeah, there's other players that are performing way better than Max Muncy, Bellinger. Like those are players you're looking to keep in your league at the beginning of the season, but now it's just like we've been saying this for the longest. Drop them already. It's just you're taking too long to drop these players. And there's more players out there. There's one that comes to mind is Ozzy Albies. Like he's been on the IL for a long time. I don't know if he came back already or he's going to come back. You've been holding on to this guy for so long. If he comes back, you think he's going to come and hit bombs? I mean, I don't know. If you have him on the IL spot, that's good. But if you don't have IL spots and you still have him on your bench, that's just a waste of spot for you. Because there's a lot of leagues that only have 2 IL spots, and you're holding on to certain players, and Albies could be that one that you're holding on to. That's just a waste of space.
Not only that, but when injured batters come back, they usually don't start them in the lineup every single day.
No, because they
They'll
want them
start him
healthy.
on the first day, he gets activated, and then the next day he's on the bench. And then the next day after that, they'll start him, and then the next day after that, he's on the bench. And they usually give him about a week to get back into the mode of playing every day again, get stretched out, get warmed up, make sure they still feel good, the day after they play a full 9 innings, just to make sure that there's no residual pain, anything that's going to hinder their game. Most of the time, those are the guys that it sucks when you have injured players coming back off the IL during your playoff run. It's always nice to have like an extra batter on the bench just in case, those guys do get the day off. You can just switch them out with someone and be able to put them on the bench. In points leagues, it's usually a little harder because you want to fill up your bench with all pitching. You don't really want to have too many extra hitters on your bench. It's just kind of like wasted space. Categories are a little bit different because, just like I was talking about the pitching categories earlier, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. When it comes to categories leagues, you want those high quality strikeout pitchers that have a low ERA and a low whip. And you don't really need to add drop too much unless you're the type that's going to punt the ERA and the whip category, and you're just going for strikeouts and possible wins. Those are 2 different strategies that you can kind of work with. And honestly, whatever's been working for you the whole season, that's what you really have to continue with.
Yeah. And there you have it. If you don't, I mean, that's a strategy that you got to follow. I think I've been seeing you guys, when you guys make it all the way to the championship, you guys get your lineup set up a week before. I mean, you're worried about the current week if you're in the playoffs, but you can only do so much in that week because you only have 5 pickups. But then you start looking forward and you're like, okay, I think I can win this week and sneak into the next week. But you need to find a strategy to get into. And like Will said in the beginning of the show, if you've been having a strategy, just keep going with it. And if it works, it works. Like that's the thing with the baseball though. Like sometimes, like right now, the Dodgers already clinched, right? That's the only team that's clinched, and you see some players being benched. And let's say you do have these players in your fantasy baseball. It sucks for you, but at the same time, like they're going through the same thing. They're going through the same thing with their roster. They're seeing that, oh man, my pitcher's not going to throw twice this week because they're going to start throwing a 6-man rotation and stuff like that. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Or the September call-ups when they have, the
And
minor
that's
leaguers
where I
come
wanted to
up.
get to. That's where I wanted to get to. September call-ups. There's a lot of players coming up that need to show their potential because all these teams, they're looking to add to their roster for that run they're going to do in professional baseball. So as a fantasy baseball, owner, you should be looking into these rookies coming up. And there's so many out there. I know when Outman from the Dodgers came out, no one knew who he was, but he went crazy his week he was up with the Dodgers, So he's going to come up pretty soon, I think, because there's going to be a lot of players that are going to be sitting and resting. So that's an option for you guys.
Yeah, the rosters increase during the playoffs, during MLB playoffs. So teams can hold more players than during the regular season. It goes from 25 to 28. So having that extra 3 players on every major league team, it just means that more guys are going to get more rest. Like you said, especially the teams that are in the playoffs already, they're going to want to rest their stars. Still get them the reps that they need to stay loose and just stay consistent with their hitting or pitching or whatever it is that they play. But getting a resting their legs, especially for outfielders or older guys on the team, guys like Justin Turner are probably going to get extra days off in the next couple weeks. Outfielders, Joey Gallo is probably going to get extra time off.
I think he's going to get more playing time. To be honest, he needs to fix that bat, just like Cody Bellinger. But those are players that
they already know he's an all or nothing type of guy, just like Bellinger's an all or nothing type of guy. But lately, Joey Gallo's been outperforming Cody Bellinger. Bellinger really still hasn't been doing anything. He'll have an occasional like big hit in a big moment, which people remember, but it doesn't excuse the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
I really wish they would have sent him down to AAA earlier in the season to kind of help fix his swing and then come back, and hopefully be better. But it's hard to do that with an MVP, a former MVP. How do you send a former MVP back down to AAA? I feel like that would have a big impact on his psyche as well. It's gonna lower his confidence level, and Bellinger's great in the outfield, so it's still a good player to have on your roster, on your real roster, not a fantasy roster, because of his defensive skills. Put him in the number 9 hole in the lineup, and if he gets out, oh well. That's usually where you put your weaker bats anyway.
Yeah. Who's your surprise right now from MLB? The team, like who is the team that surprised you being in first place of their division?
First place. I mean, I would like to say Seattle, but I know Astros are just killing it also. Seattle's definitely the team that surprised me the most, because I really didn't think that they were going to be a playoff contender the way that they are. First place, the team winning the division.
Yeah.
I don't know that
you can't think.
Most of the teams that are winning the division are the ones that I kind of thought that were going to win the division in the first place.
Really?
Yeah,
I got one. The Mets. To me, the Mets.
Really?
I
don't see them. I thought it was going to be between the Mets and the Braves, and that's exactly what it is right now. I think they're only like a half game away from each other, or like one full game
They're
away
a
from each
full
other.
game. I think the Mets won yesterday, so they went up a full game. So the Mets to me feel like the Giants from last year. I feel like they're the team that I thought was gonna get into the playoffs, but not be winning the division. And I felt like the Braves were gonna run off with it, and the
Mm.
Mets were going to be trailing them. But it seems like the Mets been up on first place, and the Braves been trailing them and been playing baseball. Same thing happened last year when the Braves second half started. They started clicking. They started playing baseball. They started playing winning games. They started like catching up to whoever was in first place. The other team that kind of surprised me is the Phillies, dude. The Phillies kept up and stayed in the wild card race, and they brought Bryce Harper back, and look at them now. Like that's another scary team to me. The Braves and the Braves and the Phillies coming out of the East are more scary to me than the Mets are. I know the Mets have the Grom, they have Scherzer, but Scherzer's injured right now. He probably has what do you call it, dead arm or tired arm or whatever.
I called it, man. It's exactly what I said. When the Mets signed him, I was like, good. I didn't want him on the Dodgers for next year.
Nah,
He is a top 5 pitcher, maybe even top 3. But he
he's
had dead arm in the playoffs last season,
yeah,
and he's 38, 39 years old. He's getting every day it's closer to retirement for him, and he can't handle the workload like he used to. He can't throw 200 innings as
yeah,
we've seen last year and this year. So, just think about that when you're doing your redrafts for next year. Scherzer, like I don't think that he should be a round 2 pick anymore. I think he's closer to like maybe like a round end of round 3 or beginning of round 4.
but
Someone
someone's
that's
gonna pick
really
him up early though, because it's
yeah,
Scherzer. He's
because
still a big
there's
name.
still hope. I mean, he's still going
Yeah,
to help you get to the fantasy playoffs, but you have to kind of be wary. It's like Kershaw. Kershaw is the type of guy that's really going to help you during the regular season, but is he going to be
how
healthy in the
long?
playoffs?
Yeah, how long is he gonna be healthy for, and then before he goes into the IL, just like Scherzer, and then you have the Grom that you don't know how he's gonna
Yeah.
end the season, and if he's gonna stay with the Mets next season, whatever. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's a team that surprised me, the Mets. I just feel like they've been playing good baseball, good enough baseball, but look at what happened after they played the Dodgers. They went into like a little losing streak type thing. They gave it their all to try to beat that series, and they did win the series. But um, I mean, they didn't. I don't know. I just feel like the Mets they don't have a full team to go far in the playoffs. I think the Phillies and the Braves coming out of the East have a more chance to get further in the playoffs. And then the team that I feel like is gonna bust in the National League. I mean, we've been talking about the Padres all year long, and I feel like they're not gonna make the playoffs. I think they're gonna fall short, and I think everybody's expecting it because everybody sees how like demoralizing it is to see that team when you see the team being the top and most talked about last year on ESPN. Every play Tatis was making, it was ESPN highlight. Even an error
Mhm.
was an ESPN highlight. Oh, and Tatis made the play, type of thing. So I just feel like they're gonna collapse even worse than what they did last year. Because last year, at the second half of baseball, where were the Padres? They weren't even around anymore. They weren't competing anymore. So
No,
right
no
now,
one
there's
even talks about him anymore.
yeah,
And when they do, it's usually negative.
yeah, and it sucks. It sucks, but reality is just you don't see chemistry there. You don't see anything
Mm-mm.
popping like it's been last year. Last year you saw the beginning of the season. Oh, the Padres is, the Padres that, and then it just collapsed.
Slam
Uh,
Diego.
yeah, the Yankees are picking it up. I think they just got tired. They're picking it up at the right time, just like the Braves are picking it up at the right time. Those are two teams that I see that knows when to pick it up. So the Yankees is no surprise for me that they're making the playoffs. But the team that surprises me that is going into the playoffs, you said it, the Mariners from the American League, the Mariners, and then who thought the Orioles were going to even have a shot? They
Right.
started playing away their players, and then they just got all these rookies coming up, and they've been playing good baseball. Even though they're 4 games back, they're still above 500, and they're in the toughest division in baseball, period.
4 games back, it's like if the top team loses 2 and then they win 2, they're tied, you know?
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, American League, you said the Mariners. That's your big surprise.
Yeah, that was my big surprise this season.
What about American League bust team?
American League bust.
Want me to tell you who I have?
I guess Boston for me.
I'm gonna say the White Sox.
Yeah, that is
They,
a big bust.
yeah, they should have took over that division all year, dude. You know, you have the I was gonna say the Indians. I still don't say the right thing.
It's gonna
The
take
Guardians.
a while.
Yeah, it's been a while already. It's been a whole year.
It's gonna take a lot longer than that, man.
The Guardians, man. I think the Guardians. But I've always said the Guardians, which is the Indians, they always gave the White Sox a run for their money. They've always had play them hard.
And they're winning the division, right? The Indians are first place.
Yeah, they're in first place. So they were battling it out with
the Indians,
with the Twins, the Guardians. They've been battling it out with the Twins, and then the Twins just fell off completely.
Yeah.
Not completely. They're still in the race, but now you have the White Sox in second place, which is what you expect. But it should be a lot closer than what they are right now.
Yeah, it kind of shows you how weak the division is. It's definitely the weakest division in baseball, and especially now with the White Sox just not winning as many games as they should be. They had the pitching, they had the batting. It didn't click this
Their
year.
run differential is -6, and they're in second place in the Central.
Man.
So it's like, yeah, it's not looking too good. And then you have Minnesota 1 game trailing on the White Sox for second place. So
yeah, Minnesota is another team that it's good to pick up streamers against because they're a weak team this season.
Yeah,
and you know every last year the Twins were great lineup, decent pitching. It's so crazy how different it can be just from one season to the next.
You know who MLB picked to be the biggest disappointment? The Giants. And
they were right.
They were right, but I'm just thinking, like, why the Giants? The Giants didn't have a good team last year. I honestly think they had a good chemistry. They had a great run, and that was it. That's how I picked the Mets to be this year. They have a great run, that's fine, but going into playoffs, they don't have the experience that they need to make it all the way. It's just like the Padres. The Padres had Hosmer. Hosmer went to the World Series with Kansas City. You trade off that piece because he wasn't happy in San Diego. You trade him off, and who do you have experience there? Juan Soto? He's 22 years old. He's not going to carry the whole team. Like, you need someone older in that team to carry you guys into the playoffs, into the World Series.
Should be that guy.
But Machado's childish, man.
He is.
He was childish going into the World Series with the Dodgers. I never liked that trade, to be honest. As a Dodger fan, I know now saying it now, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. Everybody liked it. No, I think a lot of Dodger fans didn't like it at the time. A lot of Dodger fans were talking trash, saying, why do we have Machado if he's a problematic player? And you see it in San Diego. It's like, come on, I wouldn't want my kid looking up to a guy like that. Like Johnny Baseball, like, I mean, is it Johnny Baseball? I don't know if I'm saying the term right, but Johnny Hustle. I'm not going to be Johnny. Yeah, Johnny Hustle. Like, come on, I don't want my kid to look at this guy and say, oh, this guy's not going to give it his all in every game. Like, you know, I understand they get tired, but you don't say those type of things. You stay humble. You understand the game. You understand that kids are looking at you and looking at how good you are, because he is a great player at their base, even hitting. But it's just that attitude he carries on him. It's not helping him. And it's not helping his team. So yeah. Anything else, man, you want to add in divisional baseball, like playoffs baseball? I know we talked about the fantasy strategies and all that. There's been a lot of baseball since we haven't got on the podcast. And it's been a pretty crazy season. I haven't seen the no-hitters. They've been close. They've been close to getting no-hitters, but I haven't seen anything. I just want to say Altman, the guy that came out for the Dodgers, he got 2 cycles in minor leagues in 1 week. So talk about that. That's crazy, right? Getting a cycle is just hard. And for those of you that don't know what a cycle is, you get a single, double, triple, and a home run in that 1 game. And doing that twice in a week, it's crazy. That's why a lot of people are talking about why come they don't bring them up already. But it's kind of hard when you have a stacked team and you have your veterans there. that have been proven to play good baseball in the playoffs. So we'll see if we see him. But keep an eye on that guy, because I got a feeling they're gonna bring him up. And if you have a spot in your fantasy team and you're still in playoffs or whatever, I think it's a good idea to pick him up. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else, man?
I mean, if there's anyone listening out there that has any questions, go ahead and post them on, our YouTube or our Facebook, and we'll check it out, so that way we can answer anything you're thinking about. But now I kind of want to get into the rule changes for next season, for the 2023 season, because it's not just going to impact baseball in general; it's going to impact fantasy baseball as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the experts and myself included, I think that batting averages are going to be higher, stolen bases are going to be more are going to be more attempted more often, and are probably going to be called safe a lot. And guys that already steal a lot of bases, Trey Turner. Who else is out there that steals a lot? Cedric Mullins, I think. He steals bases, right?
Yeah.
Guys like that are going to increase their stolen base attempts and their success percentage as well. So look for stolen bases to be a bigger category next season. Points league, that's probably not going to be that big of a deal. If a guy steals 20 bases in a season, it's really only going to be 20 points in a 5-month period for you, which is not that big of a deal. But batting averages are definitely going to be higher. The guys that, how many times do we see a play at first base that has to be reviewed,
Yeah.
and with the bases gaining 3 inches of circumference size, it's going to help the guys that are running from home to first to kind of beat it out by half a second, rather than making it such a close play as it was before.
Yeah,
So,
Jamal, thank you for the message. Yeah, we haven't been on in a while. I think it's life happens, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for the compliment, though.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Ask us questions, man. We love it. We'll love it. Yeah. You were saying the bases, stolen bases, is because the bases are going to get a lot bigger. I believe it's going to be like
I think it's going from 15 to 18 inches.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit bigger, and then batting average going up, meaning the shift is not going to be allowed anymore. So there has to be
shift
someone.
kind of goes along with that also. There's going to be a lot more highlight plays, I think, because guys like Francisco Lindor have been very vocal about the shift, that they don't like how the shift is being put into play now. He wants to play his position. He wants to be in the shortstop position, and he wants to show his range, that he can move to the left and to the right, make these great athletic plays, and throw a guy out at first. I think that's what makes for exciting baseball. I would rather see a lot of high quality defensive plays more than I would rather see 6 home runs in a game. Home runs, they kind of seem like dime a dozen now. Most players hit 20 or more home runs throughout the season, and when you're watching teams like the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Braves or the Mets, they hit a lot of home runs. It just becomes a little too common. But those defensive highlight plays, especially infield, like I know you're a huge fan of infield, double plays and diving plays and stuff like that. That's going to be a lot more exciting to see. Instead of having 3 guys on one side of the field that we already know it's probably going to go to that side because of pull hitters and the way that the pitcher can kind of direct his pitches, so that way he knows which side the field or which side the ball is going to be hit to. Now with having the shortstop and the third baseman having to stay on the left side, and then the second baseman and the first baseman having to stay on the right side, playing their normal positions, staying within their parameters, we're going to see a lot more high defensive plays. We see a lot of that from Machado and Arenado because third baseman doesn't really move too often, unless they are in that extreme shift. But I think that we're going to see a lot of other players be able to shine as well that we've never really seen too much from, because they're going to be coming at a higher rate.
Yeah, but you got to think about the hitters too. Like, let's say we were talking about Cody Bellinger. He's been hitting a lot of ground balls in that shift. So now you're looking at that player and be like, okay, well, now there's no shifts this year, so maybe those ground balls that he did hit into last year, which is this year, will be better for fantasy baseball players. He's not going to be a top 5-6 rounder, of course not. You have to pick them up later on, but those are things you got to think about, because now the game is going back to what it was in the 90s, I believe. Because when you started doing that shift, it takes away from these hitters. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you hit it the other way where they're not at? It's professional baseball. That's why they're up there. They know what they're doing. They know how to hit, but it's not as easy as it sounds, and it's not as easy to a lot of people, because you've been pulling the ball all your life, and then you're just going to change it up. You can't be Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman is a beast at the plate. He can hit it wherever he wants. Now, those are the type
Mike
of players
Trout too.
A little bit, but I think
Mike
Freddie
Trout uses
Freeman,
the whole field. He can basically put the ball wherever he wants. But I think a bigger issue than that is people are thinking like, oh, these hitters are professional hitters. They should be able to put the ball wherever they want. You got to think on the opposite side of that, you also have these pitchers. So if it's a left-handed hitter and there's a pitcher throwing it on the inside, it's hard to go oppo. You know, if a pitch is on the inside like that, it's your natural swing is just going to take it to the pull side anyway. You know, so you can't just think about all these guys are professional hitters. There's also professional pitchers on the other side of that ball that are purposely trying to get the ball to the side of the field that they want it to go to. You know, and a lot of good pitchers, a lot of really good starting pitchers and relief pitchers are good at what they do, and they can try to make the ball go to the side of the field that the coach is, you know, trying to call them to go to. So
there you go, man. We have a question for you right there. I have contacts on, but I have a fan on, so my eyes are really dry right now, so I can't really see. So if I'm kind of squinting to the camera, I'm really squinting. I'm like trying to understand. So Jamal sent a question, looking to pick up a fourth closer. Would you rather have Devin Williams or Daniel Bard? Right, Bard or Board? I'm sorry,
Daniel Bard. I would definitely rather have Devin Williams. Daniel Bard, he's just on a crappy team. As long as I didn't miss a trade or anything that happened. He's still in Colorado. So the Colorado doesn't really get a lot of opportunities to save games, to get those either saves or holds or even wins. And then he's going to be playing half of his games at Coors. I don't really know what the rest of the schedule looks like, but if he's playing a lot of home games, that just, it smells like trouble. If he were to get traded and be on a different team, then that would be a different story. But the Brewers still have a chance to make it to the playoffs. And I think if it's just between those two, I would definitely rather have Devin Williams.
And he's in a 10-team points league. So, I agree with that. We will, because I wouldn't want to have the Colorado effect. Especially, I don't know where they're playing. The Dodgers are playing 5 games against them in a row. So I don't know if they're playing in Colorado or in Dodger Stadium. So that's definitely one thing you want to look at too. If he's even going to get in to get those saves, and if he does, is that going to affect them? So, I mean, it is what it is. A 10-team league.
So next week, the Rockies are going to be at home all week. So it's definitely not a good time to pick him up for next week. And then the following week, he has the Giants and the Dodgers. And it's away from Coors, but still, the Giants, even though they're not as good as they were last season, they still have some pretty decent hitters in their lineup. And then you're facing the Dodgers in the Dodgers home ballpark. They're the best offensive team in baseball right now. So definitely stay away from Daniel Bard.
Cool. Thanks for the question, man. We liked it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So back to the league, the league changes. What other changes there? I know there was a
So the
shift,
last
the
one that they're
bases.
talking about, so we talked about the shift, the ban of the shift, and the larger bases, and now they're implementing the pitch clock.
Hmm.
So they did that in AAA this season,
What is
and
it? 20 seconds?
20 seconds
Okay.
between pitches, and I don't know how they monitor that with the batters, because there's a lot of batters that like to step out, uh, kick the dust off of their shoes, rearrange their batting gloves, and then put one foot inside the batter's box, and then readjust their hands on the bat, and then finally get in. So they take a little bit longer than 20 seconds sometimes too.
Yeah.
So for I haven't watched a minor league game to really see like how it's been implemented. But I do know that they said that the game went from an average of about 3 hours and 2 minutes down to 2 hours and 20 minutes. So they cut the game time by about 40 minutes by just introducing this pitch clock.
So what happens if you do go over to 20 seconds? Is it a penalty? When? I mean, I don't know. What then? Did we call it a ball?
I would assume. I'm not really sure.
What the penalty is? Yeah, because I mean, I know they're trying to attract more fans to the game, and that's why they're banning the shift because they want to see more hits. They want to see more highlights on the infield. I get all that. I understand. The bigger basis is for injury. They already took out the popping the catcher and taking out the second baseman and all that stuff. So you know those are exciting plays, and we don't have them anymore. That they're done. We're not going to get them anymore. So the bigger bases, I don't know if they're going to pull the base
Okay.
back a little bit so they can be the same length or whatever. I don't. I mean, I guess I'm old school. Once I see all the changes, maybe I'll be like, okay, yeah, it's pretty cool. That's good that they did it. But as of right now, I like that they banned the shift. That's a good idea. The 20 seconds to me is like strategic. Baseball is not a game where you like need to hurry the game up because throwing the ball at 90 or 100 miles per hour is not as easy as it looks. You have to aim and you have to understand that you can hit someone because if you're rushing to throw a ball, you can hit someone. So we'll see how many hitters get hit next year with
So
this
they
pitch clock.
actually have a list of like percentages from um, the previous minor league baseball seasons compared to the 2022 season, and actually the hit batter percentage, walk percentage, hit percentage, batting average, everything was off by maybe like 1 point or 2 points, very very minimal.
Mhm.
The only thing that actually had the drastic change is the total time of gameplay.
So that
So
that changed completely drastically.
well, the thing is also is a lot of these minor leaguers and college players, they've been playing with the pitch clock in the past before.
That's true. They're
So they're
groomed
already
already.
used to it.
Yeah.
So guys like Max Scherzer, that usually takes about 30 seconds in between pitches, or Zach Greinke, same thing. Those are the guys that are going to kind of suffer. But those guys are the ones that are kind of on their way out of MLB, within the next couple seasons or so. So I think it's a decent time to implement this change. If it's going to happen at all, might as well do it now. When a lot of these younger guys that are coming up, 21, 22 years old, making their major league debuts with these teams, they're already used to it anyway.
You know
You
what's
know,
crazy though? They're gonna have to change. The pitchers have to change their strategies again. They've been changing it since 2020. You know that, right? They've been changing the strategies of. I guess when baseball started in 2020, I think that's when they changed the weight of the ball, right? And
mhm.
then 2021, the sticky substance. There's no more. And then this year, I think it's the first year that they went back to the 2019 and previous years. And now next year you're going to ban the shift. So now you have to think about different strategies to go out there. 20-second clock. So they've been messing with the pitchers since 2020, and I'm looking forward for next season to see what's going to happen and to see how many pitchers are going to be like, oh man, I've been changing my game plan every year since 2020.
Yeah, but
So
I think the good thing about baseball though is that it's a game of very small details and adapting. That's
you
just
think
how the
so?
game. That's how the game has always been played.
No, it's
It's
a
like,
lot of detail into the game.
yeah, that's
It's
what I'm
not just.
saying.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, I understood you wrong.
No, I'm saying like there's a lot of small details that pitchers and hitters they work on almost a daily basis. A very small tweak could make a guy go from 96-mile-an-hour fastball to 99-mile-an-hour fastball. A very small tweak in their mechanics. The same thing with hitters. Just lowering their right elbow just slightly, all of a sudden their batting average is 20 points higher than it was because of that very small adjustment that they made. Baseball is a game of adjustments, and I feel like these guys are already used to making adjustments. So the adjustment that's going to be made for next season, because they've already adapted to so many changes in the past, it's just one more thing that they have to adapt to and implement in their game. And in the off season, because they already know that these are coming, they can start changing their training routine to kind of already get a sense of how the game is going to be played next year.
That's true. Yep. Well, I don't see no more questions, and I think we ran. I don't know. I can't see the timer, dude. I'm blind up here.
We are at 56 minutes.
Okay, cool. I think that's we usually cut it at 1 hour. We usually go a little bit over. Anything else you want to say before we
Well, I
cut it
did
off?
find the article that shows all of like the list. So I'll just go over that real quick. So in 2021 compared to 2022, runs per game went from 513 to 512. Batting average went from 246 to 249. Strikeout percentage went from 24.5 to 25.6. Walk percentage 10.5 and 10.5, exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And hit by pitch percentage is 1.6 to 1.6, which also is exactly the same. And those are full season statistics. Now the average time of the game played in 2021 was 3 hours and 3 minutes, and it went down to 2 hours and 37 minutes. So that's 45 minutes shorter than what it usually is. It makes for less dead time in between the pitches. There's going to be a lot more action, and that's what the crowd wants to see. So I'm hoping that this brings a different kind of generation of fans into the game. Those fans that really enjoy like a faster paced game. It's definitely not going to be like, football or basketball, because it's still a waiting game. In basketball, it's like once a guy's on the outside and he's passing it to his teammate, you already know the action just started, versus baseball, where you have to wait for a batter to actually make contact. You have to pay attention to every single pitch to be able to see these highlight plays and see the type of action that we're waiting for. But hopefully that 45 minutes that that they're going to be losing will make it worth it and make for
Does it have the stat? Do you have the stat right there that's how much time is wasted in the game? Like how much is the game really being played as opposed to like waiting period?
No, I don't have it here.
I bet you it's probably like minutes. It's not even I bet you it's not even like an hour. I'll look it up and see if we can talk about it next time.
You know what's a crazy stat that I do know of though is that in football, how long is the average football game?
Like 2-3 hours, 3 hours,
yeah,
maybe
about 3 hours. Yeah. But total play time from when the clock starts to the clock finish and there's actual action, or I'm sorry, when the play starts from snap to the end of the play, the total time for each team is only 11 minutes.
Wow.
Of actual like action. So, but the thing is with football is that once the whistle blows, you don't have to pay attention. You can go and get a snack real quick and come back. You're not going to miss anything because you already know that the football team has 30 seconds to make it to the next play. So you have 30 seconds to go and do whatever you want to do and then come back. Versus baseball, where the only time that there's dead time is in between innings. When they're switching, when offense and defense switch.
That's a good stat. I didn't know that one. I like stats. 11 minutes played. That's not bad. I didn't think it was that much. So they really don't play that much then.
They really don't play that much, and it's crazy that these guys get hurt like how bad they get hurt in professional football. Like I get it, these guys are 300 pounds, sometimes even more, hitting a dude that weighs a lot less than they do.
like
But
180,
11 minutes of play
200.
time, and the
Yeah.
way that these guys get hurt, shit's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I did find the pitch clock, like what the penalties are.
Okay.
So
Penalties? Oh, there's penalties. There's more
there
than
is
just one.
penalties, yes.
Okay.
So they're saying that it's actually going to be 15 seconds with no runners in scoring position, and then once there is a runner in scoring position, then it goes to 20. So it's always going to be either 15 or 20 seconds.
Okay.
And the pitcher must begin his motion to deliver the pitch before the timer
Sorry.
hits the expiration. Pitchers who violate the timer are charged with an automatic ball. Batters who violate the timer are charged with an automatic strike. So there's going to be penalties on both sides. With runners on base, the timer resets if the pitcher attempts a pickoff or steps off the rubber.
Okay.
So that's good. That gives the pitcher and the base runner and the hitter a little bit of extra time to kind of like collect themselves in between.
So we might see more throws to first and second.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So they can kind of like get in their head and figure out their own strategy. It gives them an extra 20 to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Pitchers are limited to 2 disengagements, step-offs or pickup attempts per plate appearance.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
So that's actually good. We've seen so many times when pitchers throw over to first base 5-6 times because there's a guy in the bullpen that's getting warm, and the coach is telling their pitcher that's in there right now just throw over a couple times so that way that the guy in the bullpen has the chance to get a little warmer. So after you finish this batter, we can bring him in. Either that or they're just trying to prevent the steal. So that's actually going to this is that rule right there is going to increase stolen bases for sure.
Yeah, and
after
it's going to change the game completely. Attempts,
they're not going to be able to throw over anymore. The guy's going to take off every time unless it's a pitch out.
Well, you're going to probably just throw once and then save that last one. Yeah. And be like, all right, let me hold it up. Let me hold it up as much as I can, and then try to keep them close to the base as possible. So I see a lot of people arguing that play because there's going to be more stolen bases, but they are trying to attract more new fans. And back in the day when the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the game was it was more about stolen bases than it was a home run. They would like to see the players steal bases and all that stuff. So if they're bringing those times back, why not? I think it's a different direction of the game, and it's going to increase people seeing the game, I guess. So it's going to grow the game a lot better. Not until next year, right? We'll see what happens next year. So
it's going to be exciting to watch. They're probably going to do it during spring training, so we'll be able to get like a glimpse, like a sneak peek to it.
Yeah. All right. What's up, man? That's it. That's all that we have.
Yeah, I think so. No more questions, right?
Nah. We can probably get on next week. We'll probably have everybody on. We're supposed to have them on today, but they decided not to. It's not that they decided, but they had something to do. We'll see.
Somebody, not going to mention any names, said that he forgot, even though he's off of work this whole week.
We'll see. We'll see if the same what do you call it? The same excuse falls on the next week. No excuses. All right. I'm Carlos Baseball. This is Willpower. Real Talk Baseball. Signing out.
See you guys.